Now, seldom does there come a topic more divisive than the so-called war on COVID. Opinions about the rights and wrongs of the handling of events by government health professionals and the media are passionately held. What is undeniable, however, is that it's the official line pushed by government and their favoured scientists and medics that has dominated the airwaves. Frustrated by the one-sided narrative, former ITV News executive Mark Sharman has brought forward a new film. Called Safe and Effective, A Second Opinion, with the aim of airing the plight of those hurt or killed by the controversial products rolled out from Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca and the rest. This clip by Georgia Rossiegel struggles to walk after her vaccine. For our radio listeners, she enters a kitchen and almost collapses, her legs spasm. Georgia claims her condition, a type of functional neurological disorder, had a direct link to her COVID jab. And Mark Sharman joins us now. Good evening, Mark. Tell me about the background to the making of this film. What prompted you, after all of this time and all of your experience in the industry, to set out on your own with this?
It was the experience in the industry that made me realise there was something wrong, because it became obvious quite early that we weren't being told the whole story. I mean, it goes back really to the numbers, you know, so many deaths within 28 days of a positive test from any reason, and became COVID death. So there was something wrong, and that led me really to meeting some of the vaccine injured, and also working with the company called Oracle Films, a very talented young filmmakers. And we set out to give the vaccine injured a voice, which I hope is what we've done.
Now, you've been in the media industry for a long time now.
Yeah.
What was it about the way the narrative was being portrayed that left you with no alternative but to strike out independently of all of that?
Well, narrative to me, you could say propaganda. I mean, it was just constant government propaganda. And to go with it was this pincer movement between mainstream media and social media, where any opposing view was being cut off, you know, cancelled. You know, people are smeared, or really professional people around the world, scientists, doctors, with hard evidence are being smeared and cancelled and just cut off because it doesn't suit the narrative.
What was the range of side effects and impacts that you encountered when you met the people who were reporting harm and hurt?
Well, it starts with death. I mean, there are a lot of people have died. Quite a few of them have been through inquests that have the vaccine as the cause. In the film, there's Alex Mitchell, who lost a leg through blood clots, and he's not alone in that. But it's hard to say. It's most of them have they don't like being called victims, by the way. It's not a term they enjoy. But
no, of course.
Most of them have a multiple of symptoms. A lot have myocarditis or heart effects. Blood clots affect other parts of your body. But it is that combination of constant tiredness, constant pain, constant flu, almost, only worse.
I think apart from anything else, the frustration, at the very least for all of those people, was the way in which they were being discouraged from raising the possibility and asking questions. You know, they were automatically being discouraged from thinking that it was anything to do with the vaccine. Well, when all the authorities had to do was listen to them and take them seriously.
But this is the core of the whole problem, and I've found it as well. I've in a tiny way, I feel the frustration because we've made this film to broadcast standards, and no one on mainstream media will show it. We've written to newspapers. I know people who work in newspapers who are told, don't bring those stories, we don't want them. So I feel a little bit of the frustration, but it's an enormous frustration for people who are physically ill and physically damaged, who are also then told it's all in your head, it doesn't exist, it's long COVID. I mean, Sir Christopher Chope, who's taken it up in Parliament, he describes it as gaslighting, and it is, and it's actually worse than that. It's
Keith, would you say this is something that you would want to see? Is this testimony and evidence that you think should be out there? Mark's saying that it's not being aired by the mainstream.
No, absolutely. democratic politician, I always want to see both sides of the argument. I'm not saying I would necessarily agree with one side or the other, but yeah, I mean, whatever happened to freedom of speech?
Mm-hmm. Why don't they want to see it? Why don't these TV channels want to air this? What is the problem?
Well, in America at the moment, there are a couple of court cases and freedom of information requests, and what's beginning to be released is clear evidence of collusion between government departments and mainstream media and social media.
Wow.
And it was, first of all, they colluded in creating the fear of this disease.
I don't think that's denied.
They then created the joy of the vaccine, and then they created the vilification of those they termed anti-vaxxers. And actually, that was a really nasty piece of work. And they were paying broadcasters, and they're putting packages in to various producers. Let's say News in America, if you had a guest on, they would make sure they had what they call trusted messengers.
Wow, so how has this happened in our world?
So they would place it. Well, I'll give an example. Dr. Asim Malhotra, who's put his head above the parapet, and he spoke to a parliamentary committee on Thursday, and straight away the machine starts, and he's been smeared on social media.
Wow!
I mean, there was one doctor has called out the Royal College of Physicians and saying this man is dragging your name through the mud by spreading anti-vax lies. Now, why would a senior surgeon, with all his experience, risk his career
with everything to lose? Yes,
but also he's seen a huge increase in cardiac arrests, 14,000 extra from 2021 to 2020, and surely he is enhancing the medical profession by speaking up and saying, I care about patients, there's something wrong here. Now, Neil, I'm not saying we're right or wrong, and I'm not a medical person, but what I am is a fair play journalist, and surely this debate should be had if there is questions around.
In the making of this, was it possible, how easy was it to get medical professionals to speak on the other side of the argument, which is to say to allow for the possibility that there was a major problem?
Dr. Asim Malhotra calls it willful ignorance. I can't remember the second name, but they willfully stepped aside from it because they've been responsible for rolling out this jab and go along with it. It's a bit like it's a company line. Doctors have been following the company line. They're told by the MHRA, they're told by the government that all these things are safe, and they've been going ahead without questioning it. There are different groups of doctors who have spoken out, and they found life very difficult.
Yeah. As regular viewers to this the show will know, at this point I am obliged, in the interests of holding Ofcom at arm's length, to read out the following. In response to this story, scientists at the JMAMA Neurology Viewpoint have said, for the vast majority of people, the Pfizer vaccine causes only mild symptoms. Functional neurological disorders can be triggered by traumatic physical or emotional events, including head injury, a medical or surgical procedure, and vaccinations. It is not exclusive to COVID vaccines and has been reported in response to jabs for other conditions. It has also been found in patients given an injection of harmless liquid saline. Of course, I have to offer that up as an alternative point of view. But what has been the effect of all of this on you, personally and professionally?
As you know, we try not to get involved in stories that we're covering. Very hard in this. I'm friends with the people we interviewed. I phone them and talk to them. And, some of them are poorly. And it is very hard. And I said before, it's the frustration. I feel the frustration for them that nobody listens.